welcome to our latest video. Me and Tony have gone a little bit further than Norfolk this time. In fact, we've come all the way over to Berlin, and if you need proof, just behind me is the Brandenburg Gate. In fact, behind us is the Brandenburg Gate. Me and Tony in Deutschland. Well, the Brandenburg Gate was built in the 18th century in a neoclassical design, and it was built between 1788 and 1791, and it's built on the site of the old city gate. A bit of history here. Incidentally, after the 1806 Prussian defeat at the Battle of Jena Auerstedt, Napoleon took the quadriga, which is the chariot with the horses on the top, took that away to Paris. Then following his defeat in 1814, it was restored to the gate. When the Nazis came to power, they used it as a party symbol. Badly damaged, it managed to survive the war along with government buildings. It was disguised during the war, so it wouldn't be a target for the Allies. Yeah, so it was disguised, and even a replica was built to confuse Allied bombers. We've come the other side of it now, and during the Cold War it was in the Soviet zone, and then formed the border between East and West Berlin. It was restored in 1957, and then Berliners could pass through the gate. Berliners could pass through the gate until Berlin Wall was constructed in 1961. If we walk closer to it, you can actually see the repair work from World War II. Areas like this, obviously bullet and blast damage, all the way up the columns, but it shows the columns are original. The wall was built on the western side of the gate, and then the wall finally came down in 1989, and Berliners could pass through it again. Right in front of the Reichstag now. Unfortunately, the rain just isn't stopping, so I've got to carry on. I'll tell you a little bit about the Reichstag. You'd rather look at that than look at me, I should think. But there's a lot of people here, so trying to get a good view is a bit difficult. Okay, it was opened in 1894. It was a seat of the German government until 1933. A month after Hitler came to power, burnt down. So the Nazis blamed the communists blamed the Nazis, but anyway, it was burnt out shell till the end of the war. A lot of people associate this with Hitler because of the name of it, but actually it's just the name of it. And that was the end of democracy in Germany. During the Battle of Berlin, or Battle of Berlin, Battle in Berlin, however you want to describe it, it was a scene of some of the most fierce fighting at the end of the war. The Russians still associated this with the powerful symbol. It's now home to the Bundestag, which is the government of the reunified Germany. It was partially renovated 1961 to 64, and completely renovated 1992 to 1999, and then opened as a German parliament, a German government building. Right, we've just reached our next destination, which is the Flak Tower Humboldthain, which is one of, I believe, 3 flak towers that were built here between April 1941 and October 1942. They are massively impressive. Some lad climbing up there. Show you in a minute. Let's just have a look at it anyway. Really impressive structure. Post-war, it was, if you look at it around here, it was actually buried. They tried to cover it up. They tried to demolish it, that didn't work, so they covered it up. And post-war, many years later, probably since the fall of the Berlin Wall, they've uncovered it, and now it's sort of a tourist attraction. It's 42 metres high, but they managed to cover it in mud, and in recent years it's now become uncovered, and used to bristle with many weapons during World War II. It was actually here to protect Berlin. One of the other two, I mean, read some of the stats, had 16 plus flak guns, 20mm each. That's just 2.5 metre thick walls, 3.8 metre thick ceilings, 42 metres high, as I said. Built over 6 floors. You can't get into them because during the winter it's a refuge for bats. Oops. And you could shelter around about 15,000 people in them. I'll try and see where the bottom of it is, but come up here and admire the views. Well, we now find ourselves at the Invalidenfriedhof, which is an old cemetery that dates back to, and I will check my notes. It was now once known as the Old Veterans Hostel, Invalid House, which was nearby, and it was actually built for those that came back from the War of Austrian Succession. And if you came back, was treated in the hostel, and you died, you were buried here in the Invalidenfriedhof. It contains some very notorious people. One of them is Manfred von Richthofen. We've got to try and find his grave somewhere. He's actually not rested here. He's been reinterred at his family plot, which is, I believe, at Wiesbaden. We also have General Rolf Schmud, who was killed when Stauffenberg tried to assassinate Hitler. Now, this was actually in the Russian sector when the Berlin Wall was built, and they removed all traces of the headstones to anybody that had any kind of connection with the Nazi regime or even German superiority. The most notorious one buried here is Reinhard Heydrich. His body lays somewhere in an unmarked grave in here. I'm not really sure where it is. Also Fritz Todt, whatever he's called. He was one of the architects of the Atlantic Wall. There is a trace of the Berlin Wall, which I'll have a look in a minute. And the next thing we'll look at is also, I believe here, a memorial to people that were killed trying to escape from East to West Berlin, this being East Berlin as it was.